Oh boy, this just ramped up. Ted Cruz is saying that there is a secret audio recording that the New York Times editorial board has. Wouldn't be so secret. It apparently comes from the same audio recording back on January 5th that in portion the New York Times had already released after Donald Trump said that he, quote, never said he would impose 45% tariffs on the Chinese. New York Times said, no, he actually did say that. They gave out this piece of the audio. Now Ted Cruz is saying on that same audio tape, you have Donald Trump basically walking back his promotion of building a 10-foot wall between the U.S. and Mexico, and that he really wouldn't put forth the promises that he's talked about when it comes to sealing off the border. Let us bring in on this breaking news Marsh, who's a Democratic strategist, along with Matt Schlapp, former deputy assistant to President George W. Bush. Right off the bat, Matt, your reaction to this new, I guess, could you call it a bombshell that Ted Cruz is floating here?
Well, it's always interesting within a Republican election contest, Liz, to be bringing in the New York Times, and to think that the New York Times could be helping Ted Cruz is a little bit ironic. But what I do like what Ted Cruz is doing is he's hitting Donald Trump on issues. And I really think that's going to resonate with voters as he goes into Super Tuesday. Marco Rubio is also going after Donald Trump, but there's a little less seriousness to it, and it's a little more personal. I think hitting him on the issues, that's what the voters want to hear.
Marianne, this has become a huge food fight on the Republican side. So far, the Dems are staying away from starting to really take major pot shots here. But who needs enemies when you've got friends like Rubio and Cruz?
Right, no need. Let the circus continue. And Matt's is exactly right. I mean, first of all, Ted Cruz doesn't have the standing with voters to make these claims on his own. The only voters who might believe him are in Texas. So he has to bring in a third party. And ironically, the third party validator in this case is the New York Times. Highly unlikely that many voters in the Republican primary, let alone those who are inclined to support Donald Trump, are going to believe anything from the New York Times. And it's very late in this campaign to start doing this.
And by the way,
we
should explain that this supposed audio tape was supposed to be off the record. So I guess you could say, Matt, that if they release it, what does that do to their reputation?
Well, there's no...
As journalists, we never, hopefully, ever say off the record and then release stuff that's suddenly on the record.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I think, you know, look, the point he's trying to make is this, whether or not there's a tape or not. What Ted Cruz is trying to say is, look, I'm the reliable conservative. I'm the orthodox conservative. I'm the guy you can count on every issue that matters to you. Donald Trump, he's had a record where he has moved around to his own admission, but he's moved to the conservative side on a lot of these questions. And so that's the question for voters. Are you willing to take an outsider who's going to take a 2x4 to Washington and break it all up, which Donald Trump is clearly going to do, although he's been, you know, he's had some sporadic positions on issues, or do you take Ted Cruz, who's also an outsider, who you know everything that he stands for? So that's the question before these voters on Tuesday.
And on top of all of this, it now ramps up that press versus Donald Trump argument that has been out there.